I want to skip over the whole acting part because I think we can come back to that later. I want to cut back to it if you want to talk about that depression during acting. But flash forward, depressions. I reached some success in terms of acting. I reached some success in terms of like social media, or people would say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I still had depression, and I was like, you know what? This is weird. Like I thought that this was supposed to go away when things are good. I thought that's how depression works. And then I looked up and I was like, oh, that's how depression works. It doesn't go when things are good. But then I started thinking more. I'm like, do I want depression?
Yeah.
So I started to do new things. I took school. I did all that stuff. And during my process of doing school, I also decided to do stand-up comedy like an idiot. Yeah. Because stand-up comedy is very terrifying. And it's very, very hard. And I wanted to conquer that within myself. And so I took up stand-up comedy in the stupidest way. I didn't even start small. Someone hit me up and was like, hey, do you want to do stand-up comedy for beginners? And I was like, yeah. And so he put me down on the schedule and I couldn't back out. And I was like,
well, that is a very harsh.
What have I gotten myself into? So I did it. So then I was doing it, and then I was going to church during the time, and then I was having a moment with God. I was in worship and singing praise and all that stuff, and I came home, and I was bummed because I was working on stand-up comedy and I couldn't find the right thing. And I was talking to my friend who does stand-up comedy, and they're like, "What do you know the most?" And I was like, "I know depression." Like, because I kind of thought I did. I don't know depression. I don't know anything about depression. I know my version of depression, you know?
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. But people think they know depression just because they know their own version, you know? But anyways, that's a segue. Coming back to it, I was in the mirror trying to run my jokes, because that's what I do when I prep my jokes. Is like I do it in the mirror to see if I can actually like do it with confidence, to see if I even can do it right. What do I look like doing it? I started running my jokes, and then I stopped for a moment, and then I just started praying. I was like, I am not doing it right. I'm not doing it right, and people aren't gonna laugh because they know this isn't feeling right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're gonna see that it doesn't feel right. People can read your energy, especially if you're on stage with lights smashed on you, and they're all looking at you. They can tell when you're not feeling good. You know? No. And I mean, I'm sure you know you do stand up. Like, God, dude. Yeah. Props. It's very, very terrifying.
Yeah. Oh, it's still terrifying to this day.
But anyway, so I was there, and then I started praying. I'm like, God, how can I get good at this? And then a little voice again came up, and he's like, talk about something real, not just something real. Talk about something real. And I was like, I looked in the mirror, I opened my eyes, and I was like, all right, I'm going to talk about depression. And then right when I was about to write the jokes about depression, another voice came up and he's like, is this really what you want to do? You want to talk about depression? You want to be the guy that's depressed? Do you want to have depression? And I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, do I have a choice? And then the voice was like, you have a choice. Now, this is where it's going to get controversial, because people say there's no choice in depression. And I wholeheartedly agree. When you're in depression, you can't do nothing. You know, and I wholeheartedly agree. And I don't know why this was a situation for me. It's an anomaly for myself as well. And I feel very blessed that I got this opportunity to feel this way. So don't get me wrong. Don't think that that's the norm, that if you look in the mirror and think, I don't want to be depressed, you won't be depressed. That's not. Yeah. Anyways, for me, this is how it was. I was like, do I have a choice? And a little voice in my head said, yes. And I said, serious? I was like, yes. And I was like, I don't want to be depressed. And then suddenly I felt like God was like, all right, you're not going to be depressed. You're not going to have anxiety anymore, but you're going to deal. You're going to deal with your problems. You're going to deal with everything that you have kept hidden. And I was like, what do you mean? I don't keep nothing hidden. My life's on the internet. I tweet literally how I feel. I post literally what I feel. I even have a post of like flowers. I'm like, I am real, God. And then it just kind of hit me even harder. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not real with myself. Like, I have been seeing myself as who I have defined myself to be, who people have defined myself to be, as opposed to who I am, to who God made me to be. I know that sounds weird, but to how, let's say in the new age way, because I feel like people will get that better, to who the universe made me to be, you know? But like, so I started, at that point, I just started to just be real with myself. And I was like, okay, who am I? I keep, you know, like people keep saying I'm a good looking dude, but people see this, I see all of my 28 years of life, and majority of my life, I was not good looking, but that's not who I am anymore now. Like, people do say I'm good looking, so I should trust them. I should feel that way, you know? And I was like, okay, oh, that feels nice. oh, thank you. These people actually think that way about me. That's cool. And so I started being real with myself, and I was like, oh, okay, that's where I fall short. So this and this. And then it got to a point of like me doing the stand-up thing, and then I was real doing the stand-up, and it actually worked. You know, like people laughed at my jokes. I started exploring more, and then I decided to get baptized. And during the baptism, it was fantastic. I felt like a new person, and it just really it helped me repurpose myself. The moment that like it said I didn't have to be that way, I started to look at myself, and I was like, all right, well, I'm feeling this way for a reason, you know? What is that reason? Why don't I feel fulfilled? And then I realized that like I pointed my life at what the world wanted me to point at. And it's not the fault of the world. I feel like society nowadays, the culture of being very, I guess, material it's just innate, because that's the culture we live in, and I don't want to blame anybody, you know?
Yeah.
But that got into me so hard that I didn't even realize that that's what I was pointing at. And I couldn't be happy because I needed things. I needed success. I needed money. I needed to have a car. All these things that people tell you on like television. All these things that people tell you got to have these things. And to a certain extent, you do have to have money because you live in a world that is money based. You need to provide for yourself. You can't be an idiot, you know? But then I didn't need that to survive because I have enough money. I'm not like balling in money. Power Rangers didn't pay us that much. Yeah. But like I have enough money to survive for my family and to be okay now. And so I was like, I'm very thankful for that. And then I started to reorganize my needs. And at that point, psychologically, what started happening when I got baptized is I started to reprioritize myself, as opposed to being like, I need success. For me, that was like worshiping the idol of success and like money and wealth and fame and fortune. Like but also it's kind of like, it sucks because that's how we live, you know, that's the world we live in. But I realized I didn't need that. And I was like, I don't need that. So what do I need? I need food. I need good people around me. I need water. I need air and like a place to live, you know, stuff like that. And maybe enough money to live for the future.
Yeah.
That's the amount of money I had. And I was like, do I have enough for that? I'm like, cool. I'm going to partition that. I started to partition that. So during that time, like I started to change my life drastically. I started to like look at my finances. I started looking at banking, and then I started to get that in order. And when I got that in order, I felt a little bit better about myself, and I felt less pressure. And then I started to feel less anxious about things. Then on top of that, I was like, all right, I'm not booking. Why am I not booking? Well, I could go the standard route and say, oh yeah, it's because we are Asian. There's not enough jobs, and I'm not. The industry's against me. I don't know enough people. I'm not enough of a social person. I'm not booking. I could go down that route. And I was like, but I don't want to go down that route. So what route am I going to go down? All right, cool. So I'm going to go down the route of like, I'm not good enough. I'm not booking because I'm not good enough. So I put that on myself. But it was a positive thing. Then I realized, because I was like, oh shoot. The moment I realized that it's my fault that I wasn't booking, I started doing better. And then I booked a show that was fantastic for myself. But like, that happened only because I realized I was like, I wasn't doing good enough, and I'm not good enough. And if I get good enough, then they won't have a reason. You know, it's like, yeah, they can give me the limitations of like, obviously, like, yeah, you're Asian, you're not gonna have enough roles for you. I don't know what else, but now it's also different. Like the industry is really geared towards Asian, which is fantastic, and I'm so thankful for that. But like, I could take that route because that is a. So real
do you
route.
feel for your depression, it's more for you kind of got a hold of it by taking control of the things that you could control?
I started listening to it. Yes. To what you're saying, yes, but I did it by listening to it in a realistic way.
Yeah.
As opposed to listening to it in a way that lets it control me. I started listening to it in a way that's like, all right, dude, you're going to be in my head. You're going to dog on me. I'm a dog back on you. You're telling me that I'm not good enough? Fine. I'm going to be good enough. You telling me that I'm not good enough with my finances? Fine. I'm going to take classes. Now look. Now what? What are you going to say now? Well, you're not good enough in this area. Fine. I'm going to do it. I do it. And then he can't say nothing anymore. Yeah. So now he's quiet.
It's like a concept that, man, I mean, I think it's easier for you to say than for me, because people say I have been depressed, but I don't know if I've ever have, because I never categorize it as that. I just called it sadness.
But that's a powerful thing too.
Yeah.
You know?
So like I've just, I guess that was like one of the bigger issues that I had with a lot of people. They go, no, you've been depressed. You have to fall into that. I'm like,
you don't.
I don't, because like, well, that's how I explained it to them was, Well, let me just say that if you're saying that people deal with their depression in different ways, then maybe I'm dealing with mine by saying it's not depression.
But that's the thing. That's the thing that when people can. Okay, to the listeners listening, if you have diagnosed yourself with depression, or if somebody has diagnosed you with depression, listen to what David's saying, because you have that power to declare it within yourself. And I laugh because I did that, and it's dangerous. And I mean that seriously.
Yeah.
Because if you categorize yourself as depression, you may have 3 categories that fall into depression. But the moment that you categorize yourself as depression, you start thinking in your own mind that you have everything that it says.
Yeah.
You don't have everything that it says. You have parts of what it says, because depression comes in different spectrums and factors, you know?
Yeah.
But then the moment that you take it on as a depression, then it becomes the loop of, I can't get out of this shit without drugs because I'm depressed.
Yeah.
That's unhealthy.
Yeah, I just get scared sometimes because, I don't have kids yet, but I just don't want everybody to always think that a pill will fix something, or or these problems
I'm not anti-medication, by the way.
For sure. I don't think anybody is. Like, there are very scientific and conclusive studies that, some people do need medication.
If you're about to kill yourself, dude, okay, if you're about to kill yourself, take the medication. Take the medication so somebody can help you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think, like, for me, like, it's weird because the response that sometimes I get, and like I said, it's not a subject I talk on a lot because I feel like I haven't been through it, so I don't really feel like I'm an authority on it.
Yeah.
But
I don't think anybody's, unless if you're like a psychologist or a clinical, like
the same reason why people get angry at maybe somebody like me who says, well, I don't know what it feels like, or if I say there's like different levels to it, are the same reasons why it's like their argument. It's the same thing. It's the reason why they're angry at me. I'm like, I'm telling you, like, I feel like there are levels to it, but you can't sit there and keep telling me that I should be depressed, that I am what I'm going through.
Well, if anybody's telling you you should be depressed, then like, you tell them right back to their face that no. It's like, no.
I was like, I don't know what you want me to say that'll make you feel better. Do you want me to say that what I was going through is depression? Would that make you feel better? But it doesn't make me feel better, so I can't do that for you.
That's why I think it's like it's a little like a get out of jail free card for feeling that responsibility, but this is not it for everyone. For me, that's how it was for me.
Yeah.
Like, for me, saying depression was a get out of jail free card, because it's like, I'm so sad. People are like, yo, hey man, you can make your life better if you want to make it better. And I was like, no, I can't.
Because the hard part about your story is that a lot of people might come back to you and say, well, you were never depressed then. This is a completely different thing.
Exactly. And that's why now I tell people, like, when people ask, have you ever been depressed? I'm like, no, I have felt depressed. Yeah. I have felt depressed, but I was not depressed. Yeah. And ironically, dude, the moment after that happened, and I was like, I prayed to God, and God was like, then you don't have depression, or you don't have anxiety. It's gone. The person who first told me that you still have it and it's never gonna go away was a pastor.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's crazy.
I was talking to him, and he was like, yo, man, I had some divine moment with God, and he took away my depression. And then he looked at me in the eye and he was like, nah, it's not gone. It's never gonna be gone. And I looked at him and I was like, really? Yeah. And so I kind of got sad and depressed during that time. I got sad and depressed. I wasn't depressed. I was feeling like depressed, during that time. And I started to beat myself up. And this was, I want to say, today's May, right? No, June. We're in June.
Yeah.
So about 5 months ago, this is when it happened. I met with him, and he was like, no, you still have depression. And then for like 2 weeks, I started feeling depressed. And then I beat myself up. And then my buddy, I'll say his name because he's a dope dude, and I hope he doesn't mind, but James Tang, he checked up on me, and he was like, hey man, what's going on? I just felt like, is everything okay? And I was like, actually, I'm feeling pretty bummed because I thought I was not depressed anymore. Yeah. Then now I just spent 2 weeks in depression. I feel really bad about myself. And then he was like, well, you got to let yourself feel sad. You can't beat yourself up for feeling sad. Yeah. If you fall back into depression, you just got to realize, okay, well, do I want to stay in here? And if you can't, then just stay in there for a while. Say, okay, accept it. Figure out why you're feeling that way. And I was like, I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
And so I sat there and I thought about it. I was like, I'm feeling sad because he said that, and then I couldn't get over my depression. And so I just struggled with not being able to get over my depression, which frustrated me, which created more depression.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, perspective is a huge thing. Yeah, it's hard for a lot of people because sometimes when people hurt and then you tell them a story like this, the immediate response is to be defensive because they're in a very hurt place, right? Because they feel like they're in this hole that they can't get out of, and they see somebody else who found that light, and then they want to categorize them as, oh, you don't know what I'm going through now because now you're not depressed.
I'm going to be completely honest, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going through, and that's why if you are going through depression, you kind of have to talk to someone about it. And it's not your responsibility, because obviously you have every right to be entitled to your sadness, and you can feel that when you don't have to reach out. But if you reach out, you will feel better. You will not feel this pain anymore.
Yeah.
And you have to listen to people when they talk to you about that stuff. And like, I just want to shout out Yoshi, because having a younger brother who is depressed, it's hard, man.
Yeah.
It's hard, because then like he doesn't understand when I snap. He doesn't understand with these types of things. But without him in my life, I would not be here. Literally.
Yeah.
I literally would not exist. But even like with that, he's always taking care of me, you know? He's a really good brother.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you guys, because I just heard a little bit of his story when I had your brother on here.
Oh, yeah?
So
he said good things about me?
He never says anything good about you. No,
I know, of course, right? Yoshi.
Like, fucking little brother. God damn. Yeah.
I was a little shit to him. Let's be real.
No, but I mean, I think like you guys, the immigrant story is pretty hard. You know, like I think it's something that a lot of people don't understand. Like, for example, like I only came here when I was like 2-3 years old. So I didn't have to experience with a lot of what you did. Now, mind you, my first language wasn't English, but you guys really couldn't speak English, you know, and when you're different and you stick out, and then on top of that, having, you know, you guys are very quirky human beings. You specifically, it makes it even more difficult to connect with people, you know?
Now, you know, that's what I got to say really quick. And I don't mean to like, you could cut this out if you want. If
No,
this is too personal.
I don't cut anything
I
out.
want to say thank you so much, dude. Like for being a friend of me. I'm serious. Cause like, it's not easy. It's not easy for me in my opinion. Like that's why I don't have a lot of friends in the industry, because it's hard to connect with me, because I'm weird to understand. Like I am a quirky dude. You're right. You're right.
Look at the group of friends I have. They're all fucking weird though.
That's true. That's true.
Well, like for me and how I've always developed friendships, it was very different. So I never developed friendships first. I mean, obviously we have to vibe and click on certain things. That's anybody, right? That comes with romantic relationships, business relationships, personal relationships, right?
You gotta be at least level on some ground.
Yeah,
you know?
we had that ground. So after that, is this person a good person, right?